and welcome back to part 2 of the Poriscope tutorial series, the core workflow. In this section, we're going to be walking you through the last analysis tab that Poriscope ships with, the clustering tab. We're going to show you how to load your fitted data, how to choose the features you want to plot, how to select your clustering algorithm, and of course, how to visualize your data in either 2D or in 3D. This step is really useful if you want to reveal a structure in your data that may uncover hidden patterns that correspond to molecular conformations or to experimental conditions. Additionally, you can take these clusters and fit them back into the previous step, but we'll dive deeper into that in part 3. So let's get to it. So, as we did in the previous step, in the previous video, which was the metadata tab, we have to instantiate it since it's the first time that we're going to use it. So we're going to go to Analysis, New Analysis tab, and we're going to select Clustering Controller, and here it is, we can see it. It's the only one we can see because we haven't instantiated any of the others, but if I go here, now we have raw data, event analysis, now we have 3, and so on. So yeah, remember, first time you're using a tab, you have to actually go to the top menu, Analysis, New Analysis tab, and select it so you actually register this tab for your use. So, same thing as the previous step. So far, everything's pretty similar. This is even more straightforward. So if we look at our milestone, which is something that we have been going through in every single one of the tabs, we are going to see that the only milestone here is DB Loader. So we are going to click there and select our database. So I'm gonna be using this one. And again, always remember, look at your login panel. So here we have loaded, this is the database we have loaded, 1 experiment, tutorial, channel 3, 18 events, perfect. So we have successfully loaded our data. Once you have successfully loaded your data, you are going to go here, clustering settings, just so you can confirm. For instance, if I was to delete the data, cluster settings is not enabled. So this is a good way to know that you're clearly missing a milestone, you're clearly missing a step. But because we have loaded our data, this becomes enabled, so we can click here and then we can proceed to choose the method of clustering we want to use. So here we have 2 HTTP scan, and we also have Gaussian mixtures. Let's say we use HTTP scan. Then the parameters you have to fill are cluster size, minimum number of points, and the sensitivity. This is what comes by default. You can definitely change it, and then we have the filter, the SQL-like syntax filter, which works the exact same way as the one from the metadata tab, except for the fact that you cannot save your subsets. So for reference for that, just refer to the documentation in the filter section, just so you know, once again, how you have to enter your queries so that Poriscope can read it. Remember, it is SQL-like syntax, so it's easier for you, and all the processing is actually taking place in the backend. So once you have applied a filter, set your parameters, you can select columns to plot. So because we wanted to keep the analysis real, you can only plot 2 or 3 axes at a time, but you can add them here at column as many as you want. So for instance, here I'm going to do duration and I'm going to do number of sublevels. You can also choose to enable the log scale or normalize your data. And then you just have to decide which ones you want to plot. So I'm going to be here. All rows must have a selected column. I cannot apply because these are empty. So for instance, let's do here that. Perfect. Now I can apply it because I have selected 2 features to plot, but for instance, if I was to come back and then I unselect this, you must select at least 2 columns to plot. So it's always gonna tell you if you're missing something, so don't worry about it. But I just like to say it explicitly, just so you know why it is that we allow only 2 or 3 to be plotted, and of course you need to plot something before you can proceed. So let's go back to it. So here we have plotted our data using the HTTP scan. So here you can see it. Well, I did it twice. So this is HTTP scan, apply to 18 rows. and then you can visualize it here. Of course, you can set your parameters, so this is actually more representative of what you're looking to, which structures you are looking to discover, but this is what happens automatically. This is a grouping that takes place automatically with the parameters that come preset in Poriscope. So now let's say we choose a different clustering algorithm. So cluster settings, same data sets. We're gonna select Gaussian mixtures. Let's say I'm gonna set 5. I'm not gonna apply any filter, and then again I'm gonna do duration versus number of sublevels. I cannot have the same one repeated. It won't count. Plot and plot, apply. And then here we have 5 labels, starts at 0, corresponding to the 5 clusters that I have. So now we can actually, because we have more labels, we can actually use this option, the merging option. I'm going to show you how that works. So for instance, if we see we have 1 right here, and then we have 3 right here. Maybe I've been filtering my data, tweaking my parameters, and I'm still not happy with the cluster, so I want to consolidate them in one. I want to do 1 and 3 together, so I'm going to select which label I want to keep. Do I want to keep the label 3? Do I want to keep 1? If I want to keep 1, then what I'm going to do is I want to merge it with 3, so keep an eye for that, 1 and 3. With 3, and then I'm going to click merge. And as you can see, all of these now belong to 1. They are all orange, and if we look at the labels we have available, now we have 0, 1, 2, 4, because 1 was merged with 3 under the label 1. So again, if after tweaking your parameters a lot, you're not getting what you want and you want to consolidate your clusters, the merge option is really useful for that. And this is what keep label and merge with means, really straightforward. So now I'm going to proceed and show you how, once you're happy with the clusters you have, how you can save them. So once again, as we saw in the previous analysis steps, when it comes to saving our data once we're happy with our results, it is pretty straightforward. We just have to click the commit button. But as you can see, when we were talking about milestones in the other tabs, we had here another milestone regarding the plugin, which was creating a writer. But here we only have loading the database. We don't have to create a writer. We're just committing directly. And this is because once you click commit on the clustering tab, the changes will be permanently applied to the database. So you have to be really careful and be really happy with your results once you decide to take this step, because then once you click it, columns pertaining to the clusters you have created are going to be added to the database, and this cannot be undone, so just be aware of that. For instance, here, well, I have already committed to the database, but if I do it again, it's going to say clustering data already exists. Are you sure you want to override? This action cannot be undone, so just a reminder once again to confirm you override in case you're overriding. But the first time, of course, it won't have a pop-up. It'll just, if it's successful, you do commit, and then you'll see clustering controller successfully wrote clustering data. So just a friendly reminder regarding your data, and then I'll show you how that looks on your database. So here I have my database open. I'm gonna browse data, and I'm gonna go to the events table because I was doing duration and number of sublevels, which are columns corresponding to the events table. And if I go to the end, I'm gonna see the cluster label as well as the cluster confidence columns added into the database. If I had my clusters included sublevel related features, then these columns would have also been added to the sublevels table, but because they didn't, that is not the case. So here, just showing you that you can confirm that these aspects were added into your database, and this is it gets really interesting. We'll see that in part 3, because now these are columns that you can filter by when you're doing analysis in metadata tab. But again, that is something we're going to look at in more detail in part 3. And then finally, but definitely not least, we're going to look at the export plot data, which is actually a feature not exclusive to the clustering tab. It's present in all of the tabs. Here it is in clustering, here it is in event analysis, raw data, and in metadata view, it's also there. So what this is going to do is that you can click it at any point in your analysis, and it's going to save your information as in human clustering. It's going to save your data in a human readable format that you can open in any visualization format you'd like. You can export for further analysis, for publication, and it's really handy. So you just do that, tutorial clustering there, save it, and that's it. You can open it and you're going to see the information about the clusters. And in addition to that, we have access to the actual graphs if you also want to save that. So you can, whatever you have plotted, again, for publication, it's really useful. You can just save it and then use it whenever you need it. You have now completed part 2 of the Poriscope tutorial series, the core workflow. In the past 5 videos, you have learned how to load your raw data signal in order to detect and save translocation events, take these events and fit them using a variety of algorithms, then take the metadata and analyze it through interactive plots and filters, and finally cluster your events to uncover patterns. Each of these steps builds towards a structured, reproducible analysis pipeline that is designed to help you make sense out of complex single molecule data with confidence and clarity. Now in part 3, we're going to go beyond the basics and walk you through advanced tools, edge cases, and some tips for power users. Thank you for following along, and see you in part 3.